Learn the steps Jamila took to save $85,000 in 1 year by taking her free wealth building email course, where she goes over the mindset and steps you need to start seeing the major improvements you want to see in your finances. Go to her website, journeytolaunch.com/free course.
Welcome to the Great Girlfriends Podcast. We discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. We're your hosts. I'm Sybil Amuti.
And I'm Brandis Daniel.
And Great Girlfriends, you better get ready. We have Cora J. Coleman.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're so happy to have you. We're so happy to have you. And obviously everyone in the world already feels like they know you personally because we listen, watch, and hear you pray and speak. So forgive us if we get too easily fall into calling you Cora, but thank you so much for being with us today.
Please call me Cora. Please call me Cora.
Okay, perfect, Cora,
okay.
Perfect. Hey, Cora.
Hey.
How was your day?
I love it.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Things are going good. Can't complain. Bestseller book, who's going to complain with that?
Come on. Who's going to complain about being a ferocious warrior?
That's all I'm saying, man. That's all I'm saying.
Audience, Great Girlfriends, we want to fill you in really quickly on who Cora J. Coleman is. And I'm reading from your bio, but Cora is just a powerhouse of a woman, and a warrior for Christ, and a minister, and a great girlfriend to so many women around the world. And this bio says that Cora is passionate about living a life of purpose and fertility, the ability to produce. She's a preacher, author, and wife to her wonderful husband, Brandon Coleman, as well as mother to her beautiful daughter, Amari, and energetic son, Jason, a.k.a. is that Tugga? Tuga. As eldest daughter to world-renowned Bishop Jakes and First Lady Sarita Jakes, Cora directs the children's ministry at the Potter's House of Dallas, in addition to her Cora Jakes ministry efforts. Faithing It is her first book, and Cora has proudly released her second book, Ferocious Warrior, which has already put us, Brandis and I, sitting on the floor together, reading, flipping pages, talking about, read on, go girl, hurry up, next page.
So it was so amazing, and I love. So, Great Girlfriends, I'm just going to skip ahead real quick, but I love when I'm reading stories and the author isn't afraid to put the most vulnerable pieces of themselves out there, because it's almost like as we're reading it, we can walk through your situation, but our own situation at the same time with it. And so it's kind of like when authors do that, and when you did that, Cora, it's like we're walking through this process together. And so I'm just so excited about this book, because one of the things that Sybil and I both hear come up over and over again is fear. I feel like we're this kind of the culture, everyone is fearful of something. Did that have something to do with why you wrote the book, Ferocious Warrior? Were you feeling that? How do you feel about culture right now, and kind of this fear and anxiety that I feel like is kind of taking over?
I absolutely feel that Ferocious Warrior gives an answer to the fear that is very prevalent in the world right now, be it the church or the club. There is fear that is happening, fears of success, fears of failure, fears of loneliness. The list goes on. And, the enemy uses fear best because it's something that we easily gravitate to. It is easier to be afraid of something than it is to believe that you can conquer it. And so Ferocious Warriors, the hope, rather, of Ferocious Warrior is to show people, one, that I'm fighting with them, two, that the devil is a dummy, hashtag, three, that we have a unique ability, a unique, resilient ability to overcome everything that is trying to press us down. And I just wanted to give people just a kick in the behind, if you will, to just let them know, like, yo, get out of that depression, get out of that barren place, get out of that broken place, and let's fight. Let's fight because we know we're going to win. Let's fight because we know we have the victory. Let's fight because there's no reason to be afraid of depression, afraid of success, afraid of failure. There's no need for it. Everything that we go through in life has the opportunity to fuel us to our destiny.
I love that. You know, sometimes the biggest part of that, of the fear, is the shame, and the shame sort of keeps us from feeling courageous enough to step into our next level or to confess something different because we feel like we're not worthy. And you talk so candidly about things that other people say I'm ashamed of, and you know, even as you talk about your beliefs to have a fertile life, you're producing fertility constantly, day by day, and your own quest for fertility. What is it that helps you really push through the shame? How did you decide that this story was not one that you wanted to hide? You wanted to bring this forward?
Well, shame wasn't something that I was willing to receive. It was something that people were trying to give to me, but I wasn't willing to be ashamed over something that, had I had the control, I wouldn't have it. And I felt like it wasn't fair for people to put a shame on me. And you don't shame people for cancer. You don't shame people for diabetes. You don't shame people for sickle cell, because we don't have any control over it. And so I just wanted to show people, one, you don't have to be ashamed of what is going on. But here's the other caveat that is really beautiful, that the Lord has just been consistently opening up my eyes to, is that the doctors and the nurses and fertility specialists are declaring something on you, that if you would see it from the eyes of the Spirit and not the eyes of man, you would see that they're declaring that you are in fertility, that you are in fertility, that there is nothing wrong with you. You are
Cora?
in fertility. You are actively involved in fertility. And so we often look at things from the eyes of man, so it looked like I wasn't producing. It looked like I wouldn't conceive. It looked like I wouldn't have a child. But what happens is, when people begin to look at things from the Spirit, you start to see that all these people have declared that I'm in fertility. And if I'm willing to receive it, then I'm willing to produce. And once I can receive what God is speaking over me, both in the world and for the kingdom, then I can change how I respond to the narrative.
Cora, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of women you just set free. That, wow. That was so powerful. What a revelation.
Wasn't it a revelation, child? It was a revelation.
Oh my goodness.
I wish I had put it in my book. Next one.
That is the truth. That is absolutely the truth. You're in fertility. You're in progress and in work with God. And when you are in partnership with God's creative power, this is what happens. You're able to birth something so beautiful out of that. And I love how you said, shame does not belong to you. It doesn't belong to a person who's not in control of those circumstances. And God will give you something brand new to see out of something that everyone else thought was so horrible or that thought was an end of a story. God will put a comma there. And so for you, I think the comma just kept going, because what I'm seeing when you said that you live a life of fertility, you know, I think that you have just been, I don't know, I just think you've deeply fallen in love with your calling. Is this safe to say that you're in love with your calling?
Okay. Absolutely. And it almost disappoints me that I ran for the time that I did, because I'm more importantly falling in love with the God who called me. I'm not necessarily in love with the call itself, but just the fact that he would consider that my story would be an inspiration or a necessity. God did not have to look at my life and say, your life is a necessity for the world. How do you not love that? How do you not love a God that looks at your life and you see it as shambles and mess and chaos and crazy, and he sees infertility. He sees Amari. He sees Jason. He sees my husband. How do you not love that? How do you not fall in love with that? And so I am relentlessly in pursuit of showing people that we have got to stop being mad that God did not become the God that we created him to be. But we have to really start walking in the fact that God is still good. It may not look good and it may not feel good, and your situation probably looks a hot, raggedy mess, but God is still good, and he's not here to be what you created. He's here to be the creator.
Wow.
Yes, Cora. Yes.
You know, here is where I think a lot of people are right now. And sometimes, Cora, your book is so bold. Like, it's so bold. And I just love it because it's like, oh, girl, get your life. Like, why are you sitting over here scared of stuff you don't need to be scared about, right? And even sometimes the enemy.
I don't get it.
You get, but I'm saying sometimes we can even be so afraid of the enemy, right? So as believers, we're not moving forward because we've got this fear of what the enemy might do if we move forward. And your book is almost like, forget about just not being afraid. Go into the enemy's camp. Like what? Like what is it that you found out? I have to know. What is it that you found out that all of our great girlfriends need to know about faith, about Jesus, about fighting the enemy with this type of boldness?
I found out that great granny and great auntie were wrong. I found out that the devil is not a monster. I found out that he was God's devil. And because he is God's devil, I will always have the upper hand. I found out that the closer that I get to God is the threat that fears the enemy. And so instead of operating in fear, I decided to scare the enemy. I decided that great granny and auntie were not going to tell me that the devil was this big, huge, scary monster that I needed to be afraid of. They created that narrative. Our great grannies and our aunties and grandmama and grandpa made us feel like the devil was this big, huge, scary monster. And I prefer to consider him a big brother that bullies us until we do what God tells us to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a heavy thing. It's a heavy concept. It's a situation. But that's what I found out. I found out that the devil is our brother too.
Yeah. Wow. Is there something that got you there? Was there a particular situation that got you there? Was there a particular moment in your life when you said, "I'm done. Like I'm finished. I'm done. I'm not going to be afraid." I read in your book where you talked about when you had to tell yourself a different story around depression and anxiety and what you were telling yourself when you looked in the mirror. So was there like a particular situation where you just kind of stood up in all of your power?
I think that even as a little girl, just growing up, watching my mom and dad never be afraid of demons they had to cast out, never be afraid going into the surgery room, just their ferocious faith. Like, I call my mom Mommy Bear and I call my dad Daddy Bear, because up under all of that, like, if you push the right button, they turn into bears. to the enemy. And so when I grew up, I watched my dad approach demons face on, head on, eyeball to eyeball, flat foot, no wavering, and cast demons out and change lives. And I just decided as a little girl that I was going to be just like my daddy. I didn't know what that meant until now. But at 5 years old, that's why I opened the book with that story, is because when I was 5 years old in kindergarten, they ask you how old you are, what your name is, and what you're going to be when you grow up. And I was in a predominantly white school. Female pastors and preachers were unheard of. And I snatched the mic out of her hand, and I said, my name is Cora Jakes. I'm 5 years old, and when I grow up, I'm going to be a preacher just like my daddy. And everybody looked at me like, what? You can't be a preacher. You're a woman. You're a girl. You can't be a preacher. But my dad was in the back of the room grinning ear to ear. And that was my pursuit. From that moment, seeing my dad smile as big as he did with me saying that, it gave me this relentless pursuit to become ferocious like my daddy, relentless like my daddy, and that's what he taught me. My dad inspired the strategy and the structure by which I understand God. My mother developed the relationship and the heart that I have for God, and both of them, their lives have cultivated everything in me that makes me who I am.
That is so powerful. And I just want to say, I think that it's, for you and your siblings to share your parents with the world in the way that you have, I want to celebrate and thank you for your generosity because all of us have benefited from the fruit of the household and of your parents. So thank you so much for that. But
that's huge, because I'm not so generous, Sybil.
Well, the Lord knows who to sit with the right people. You know what I'm saying?
That's real.
So my dad was a pastor, and I can tell you, we got three girls, and we were not so generous. So let me tell you, we didn't have a choice, but we did not want to share. So that is huge of you guys.
But you look at this though. Look at them sharing, but also listen to the fruits of the character of the household, the bandwidth that Pastor Jakes and Pastor Sarita must have had as Christians, as leaders, that she and her siblings can all take away something so beautiful and walk into your own lane. So now, Cora, most PKs have a different story about their lane and their identity and establishing themselves and really standing up as who they've called themselves to be. I love how you talk about the strategy and the heart that you took away as attributes. How did you develop your own lane? How did you make the choice to stand as Cora Jakes Coleman and not T.D. Jakes' daughter first?
Well, I can't really say that I made my own lane. I think I figured out how to master my space in the lane that my father and mother have already created. I didn't feel it necessary to detach myself from the beauty of what they have built, just so that I can say I'm in my own lane doing my own thing. And so I chose to decide, where am I in this lane and how can I be the most effective in this lane, and then allow myself to embrace that people calling me T.D. Jakes' daughter doesn't have to be offensive. But if I begin to really love on who I am as a person, that other people would do the same. And so I just began to learn how to just be authentically me. I've never put up something that I couldn't back. I have always been very real and very raw. I work out in my bonnets on my Insta story. Y'all watch TV with me, and I think that just the personable access that I have or have given to people to me sets me apart from my family in that way. So people just know, with Cora, you're gonna get what you get, and if you don't like it, she's not gonna change. Like, I've just never been that type of person.
I love mastering your space. Because what happens when each one of us, takes the time to really master our space? Sometimes we're so busy trying to reject a certain thing or a name or a title. Like you said, it's not offensive. It's actually an attribute. It's actually a compliment to be T.D. Jakes' daughter. But mastering your space means that you are really unleashing or exposing your own identity and really creating all of the necessary paths that you need to take within a certain realm. I think that is super powerful for listeners who are trying to understand how can you own your identity and possess and live as a ferocious warrior without creating a conflict or feeling like you have to shrink away or compete with anyone else's name. Mastering your space gives you permission to really take ownership of what's yours without even thinking about the other parts.
Absolutely. I think that the people gave me the what, but I showed them the why. So everybody knew what I was. I'm Bishop Jakes' daughter. I'm Bishop Jakes' daughter. I'm Bishop Jakes' daughter. But here lately, I've been able to show people why I am Bishop Jakes' daughter, why God placed me in this family, why my voice was needed in this family, and why God attached me to our family. And so it's been wonderful for me to be able to show them my why, because for years they have been so mesmerized by the what.
That's so good. Wow.
So I'm going to go back to the book for a second, because there's a part in there that, Sybil and I reading through, oh my God, what? And it was one of your lowest points. And you said that lowest point was almost what prepared you to heal, or what helped you to heal was that lowest point. And I know that there's great girlfriends who are listening to this podcast who might be at their lowest and trying to figure out, how do I get out of this? And what in the world do you mean that your lowest point allowed you to heal? Do you want to share that story or that moment and kind of how it led to healing for you?
Well, there's a lot of lowest points. So which one specifically are you talking about?
JoJo.
Oh, man. JoJo. Man. He's my first loved son. And I've never to this day felt a pain like I felt losing JoJo. It was lower than my lowest point. I can't even tell you where I was. I can't even really formulate the darkness of where I was, but I knew that I couldn't get any lower. And because I knew I couldn't get any lower, I convinced myself that every move after this point was going to take me just one step, even if it was just 1 inch higher than where I was. But it took so much time to get out of there, and I had to be patient with myself, but I also had to embrace the weight of that pain. I had to embrace it because I felt like if I didn't, I would do a disservice to the relationship that God had granted me in being a moment in JoJo's life. And so I began to be angry, and I told God the truth, and that's what's always helped me to get out of my lowest place. I think that we lie to God. We lie to God like he doesn't know. We lie to God like he has no idea what's going on. And I decided I wasn't going to lie. I told God I was angry. I was infuriated that I had to lose JoJo. I didn't think it was fair. To be honest, I still don't think it was fair, but it was necessary. JoJo was a necessary low for me because I don't think that I would love my son Tuga as much as I do had I not experienced what it felt like to lose a son. Mm-hmm. And so my encouragement is to embrace the low and take every step that you can in the direction that you see, because you can't get any lower than this. And if you think this is your lowest point, really evaluate it, because make sure that you haven't been lower than this. I knew, like I said, I knew that I was at my lowest. I knew that I could not get any lower than this. But sometimes we will define a point as our lowest that really isn't the lowest point. So you have to really evaluate where you are and check your spiritual resume. What I mean by a spiritual resume is there are things in your life that you have overcome and overlooked. But when you begin to really look at your resume, you start to see, oh, I overcame worse than this. I have overcame worse than this pain. I have overcome worse than this problem in this situation. And if I could overcome it 10 years ago me, then I most certainly can overcome it with 10 years of more wisdom than I had before. And so you really have to evaluate, is this really my lowest point? And if it is, then every step that I take, even if it is the smallest of steps, is going to get me out of here eventually. And once I could take a few steps, I took more. And then I started walking, and then I started running, and then I leaped out of that dark place. And had I not leaped out, I wouldn't have been able to find the love of Jason. He's so much more to my heart than I will ever be able to comprehend or even relay. He has been my healer. He has been my comedian. He has been my protector. He has been a true promise that I didn't even know God had granted me. And I was so busy focusing on the promises that I wanted that I didn't really take a chance to look at the fact that my two babies are absolutely a promise. And they continue to show me that every single day.
Oh, it's so powerful. So you talk about there being no victory without a fight. And I think many of us would love things to happen the easy way, right? We want to be able to win without going through any war. I love that you share your battles so publicly, so transparently, so candidly, and you talk about the fact that you didn't think it was fair then, and you still don't think it's fair. Those are honest feelings, and like you said, God knows. Like, He's fully aware of what's really on our heart. But in us finding or locating our victory, what's one thing that you think a ferocious warrior should remember along the way?
It would be a scripture. It's Luke 10:19, and a large part of Ferocious Warrior is based off of this scripture. And what it says is, I have given you the authority to tread and trample over serpents, scorpions, and overcome all of the power of the enemy. And my favorite part is it says that nothing, no thing by any means will harm you. And so whenever you're going to face a fight, whenever you're going to go into the enemy's camp, go with that scripture. I've given you the authority to tread over whatever it is that you are seeing, to trample whatever it is that is stopping you, and to overcome whatever power the enemy is trying to show you he has. And nothing, no infertility, no depression, no sickness, no cancer, no death, nothing by no means, no weapon, nothing by any means will harm you. And when you can really anchor yourself into that scripture, you will become ferocious because of that understanding. Nothing by no means will harm me. I may be suicidal, and nothing by no means will harm me. Every attempt will fail because nothing by no means will harm me. I may be insecure, but nothing by no means will harm me. I may have low self-esteem, but nothing by no means will harm me. I am going to tread and trample over low self-esteem. I'm going to tread and trample over insecurity. I'm going to tread and trample over depression, and I will. It's already set up for me to overcome.
I mean, what do we say after that, Pastor Cora?
We say amen.
We say amen. Oh my God!
She said Pastor Cora that time. She know where I shifted. I shifted to a little sermonette.
Yes, we'll take it.
Oh my goodness!
We'll take it. Oh my goodness,
Cora. Okay, so we need every great girlfriend out buying this book. I'm sure they're Googling by now. Where can they grab the book? How can they support? What's next for you? How can we rally and cheer and champion the movement? What do you want from our audience that will support all the work and the ministry and the love and the work and passion that you have out there?
Well, the book is out everywhere. Everywhere books are sold. I'm a bestseller on Amazon. Y'all can keep that going.
Yes.
And so just go out and get the book and let it be a blessing to you. Let it really change you. And then pass it on. Read it and pass it. Read it and pass it so that it can be a blessing to those who are around you. My goal and greatest intention is that warriors will be rising from all over the country, and that once we begin to rise in that ferocious authority that we have, then we can really start to see changes, not just in our lives and in our households, but we can start seeing changes within the country. This book has the opportunity to pull you so much out of a barren and broken place that you begin to build nations and continent warriors that defeat the agenda and tactics of the enemy. And so you can get it anywhere, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target, anywhere, or you can go to ferociouswarrior.com and get it there as well. And you can follow me. Follow me at C. Jakes Coleman. I'm pretty comedic. I like to have fun. I'm a very, very real person. I'm a very down-to-earth person is what everybody keeps saying. I respond to my DMs. It is actually me. And yeah, just kick it with me. Just kick it with me.
I love it.
That's Brandon, take my words.
I'm sorry, girl. I'm just over here. The thing I keep getting from this, and then I promise we're going to let you go, Pastor Cora. But the thing I'm getting is we are leaving so much on the table because we're not willing to fight. As you're talking, absolutely. That's all I hear is, wow, my God, what all are we leaving on the table because we're not willing to fight?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, the Bible tells us that the Lord will prepare a table in the presence of our enemies. And if we spend so much time being afraid of our enemies, how will we ever get to the table?
Yes. Oh, you don't even know. You have no idea the ammunition you have given me. They're not ready, Pastor Cora. They didn't know I was going to have a podcast recorded with you today.
Yeah. This was essential. So essential. Cora, listen, you've lit a fire. You have lit a fire. Excuse me. You see, all my grammar's gone. All my English is done. Because we're in awe. Because I feel like that ministry gift is so big, and like you said, Brandis, I'm forever reminded the enemy is not bigger than my belief, my faith, my God. And so many times we measure the enemy over God and think that because it looks so big, it is big, and we can't go out and conquer. But you go into the camp and take back everything that was stolen. I really love that. So We can't thank you enough. Great girlfriends, don't just buy one for yourself. We need you to get 5 copies of the book. I know you can get 5 copies because you have 5
Yes.
friends that need to be activated. So we're challenging you to go out and buy a copy for yourself and then get some for your great girlfriends. And let's keep this book on the Amazon bestseller list.
Absolutely.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, Pastor Cora.
Thank you.
You are a
My
blessing.
pleasure.
Your family is a blessing. We are so honored to have you. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it and I'm honored to be here, and I look forward to connecting with you both again.
We could not end this podcast without thanking our amazing husbands.
Yes, thank you, Kwaku.
And thank you so much, Rich Daniel.
And our beautiful children, thank you, Sam and Dylan.
And thank you, Miss Sky Daniel.
And thank you to all of you great girlfriends for trusting us as your go-to source for everything life, love, and laughter.
You can check us out on our social, on Instagram,
The Great Girlfriends,
on Twitter,
_Great GFS,
and on Facebook.
The Great Girlfriends.
And please make sure that you join our Facebook group, which is over 16,000 women strong.
Absolutely. And make sure you listen every single Wednesday on iTunes, Spotify, Podcast Bean, Podcast Republic, Google Play, and every other podcasting service.
Absolutely.
Be sure to post your questions, share with your friends, keep listening, and keep being a great girlfriend. I'm Sybil.
And I'm Brandon.
And we're signing off.
Peace.
Peace.